Hello everybody, welcome back to the footy recap. The first weekend of the Premier League is almost over and we have got some frankly quite bizarre results to talk about. The Arsenal victory against Coventry 3-0, pretty much what everyone expected, but basically that's where it all ended. Leeds with a 1-0 away win at Forest. I thought Leeds were very good in pre-season, by the way. They did beat Liverpool, Man United and Chelsea, I believe, and Leeds making a few good signings. Hull beating Man United, the most Man United thing that I've ever seen, frankly. Hull played really well in that game, but Man United looked miles off the pace, and Mark Goldbridge was not happy, to say the least, in his recaps of that. Ipswich getting a 2-1 win over Sunderland, also a fascinating result. Sunderland looking a little bit leggy and not quite at it from what I saw. Everton with a 2-0 win over Palace, something I also expected. Palace, a team that I think are really going to struggle this season, losing a few key players. They lost Lacroix at the back, obviously losing Gahey before that. They may still lose Adam Wharton potentially. And a few more players lost over recent seasons that have really left them struggling. I think without Glasner as well, they may end up struggling in my opinion. They may also lose Ismaila Sarr to Galatasaray from what I've been seeing. And then obviously Man City and Bournemouth. Bournemouth almost doing Man City at home. But then Man City finally getting their dodgy late winner, as we saw. I think did Haaland score in that game? Brighton with a phenomenal and quite unbelievable 4-0 win against Aston Villa. Villa looking a little bit sketchy at the minute, I have to say. My dad's football team, Villa, losing key players down the spine of their team. When you think about it, they've lost, it looks like Martinez is going to go. Cons has gone to Arsenal. Tielemans has gone to United. Ollie Watkins has gone on strike. He's trying to get a move to Saudi. And Morgan Rogers has gone to Chelsea. Aston Villa, I think, have bought really good players, but as of right now, looking like they haven't put it together in their first game. And then, of course, my team, Newcastle, versus Liverpool. I'm a Liverpool fan. Newcastle versus Liverpool, an interesting game where I thought Liverpool played really well. Newcastle on 2 breakaway goals. And Liverpool looking like they were playing really well under Iraola and could be a team to watch this season. We do still have one more game. I do believe it's Chelsea versus, I cannot remember who it's against. It hasn't been played yet because it's Monday Night Football, obviously. But as of right now, it looks as though we've had some pretty interesting results. Honestly, you would expect Arsenal to beat Coventry. I thought they were pretty comprehensive in that performance. No one was really expecting Coventry to go to Arsenal, who did win the league last season and win the game. They did give them a good run for their money for a little while, but obviously Arsenal, with just too much power, pace and quality, ended up comfortably beating Coventry in this game. And really after the Community Shield, where they comfortably dispatched Man City, who, let's face it, didn't look very good at all in that game, to be honest. I think it's fair to say that you would have always expected Arsenal to beat Coventry. No surprises there. Hull City and Man United. This one was a fascinating result to see. Hull, because you would expect... It's actually interesting here. Ipswich and Hull both win in their first games after being promoted, which is fascinating. Who is the other team that's been promoted? Is it Southampton? They're playing Chelsea tonight, whoever it is, aren't they, by the looks of things? But I digress. Hull, from the highlights that I watched, looked pretty good. I think Man United had a fair few chances, but looked a little bit vulnerable in transition and did not replace, as Mark Goldbridge said quite rightly, Casemiro, who was a big influence for them last season, not replaced. And even though they have bought Baleba and Tielemans and Santos, it looked like they were very leggy in that midfield double pivot with Tielemans and Santos by the looks of things, not screening the back four very well. And really, Tielemans, he was excellent for Aston Villa over the past 3 or 4 seasons, and he was always his best, in my opinion, when he had someone defensive and mobile next to him, usually a Kamara or an Onana. Sometimes it was Bogard at Villa, or someone next to him, maybe even John McGinn at times as well over the years. Tielemans is a great player, but he is not necessarily a DM. He's more of a deep-lying midfielder who's going to create for you, but he's by no means that physical player that you want really in there to do the physical work most of the time. And with him and Santos, who was designed to be the double pivot next to him in that regard defensively, it looks like Man United was still quite open. And from what I saw from the highlights, it seemed as though they did get done because of a lack of defensive quality in that midfield area. So they have got Baleba, obviously, who could go there next to Tielemans and be a lot more DM focused. We'll have to wait and see how that shakes out, but not the ideal start for Carrick. And in reality, this is a pretty embarrassing result, to be honest, for Man United. You probably shouldn't be losing to a promoted side in the first game of the season, really. Although you could say they're away from home, but everyone expecting Man United to be pretty good this season. But I'm still not convinced about Carrick. And in reality, I don't think they've signed enough players really to justify top 4 or 5 for me, as I said in my Premier League prediction video. Forest and Leeds, an interesting one. I said Forest would struggle as well in a similar way to Crystal Palace because of the loss of Elliot Anderson and also the new manager in general. Just a club that, they barely avoided relegation last season. They pulled it together at the end of the season last season, but in reality, they were close to being relegated until they got a few wins over the line at the end of the season to get away from the bottom. But they were close and they were not great last season. In reality, Leeds have been looking very good in pre-season, by the way. Like I said, Chelsea, Liverpool and Man United all beaten in pre-season by them. They looked very good, pacey and powerful, good at defending, also good on the transition. Looked like they created a lot of chances and putting away their goals. Getting an away win at Forest for their first game of the season, a great result for them. Obviously making a few good signings as well. Harry Wilson, a good signing. Very good Premier League proven player last season for Fulham again and again. He's proved to be a good player. Trafford, probably going to be England's number 1 in the next few years, potentially. Also a great player. I thought James Trafford was a really good pickup for them as well. Definitely made them feel like they might get up a few more places in the table. Ipswich Sunderland. This one, a little bit of a strange one, a bizarre one, but as I said again in my Premier League predictions, Sunderland with European football, are they going to struggle with the work rate? Are they going to struggle with the amount of games? Are they going to struggle with the fixture list? I just feel like it's going to be an issue for them potentially. Sunderland did very well last season, but obviously the second season syndrome after being promoted could also be a factor with the extended fixture list. Ipswich obviously come out swinging. Ipswich, last time they were in the Premier League, were not very good at all. I didn't actually watch the highlights for this game, but it looks as though they did pretty well. As you can see here, according to what we're seeing, Enciso apparently did very well. A player that did very well for them last time they were in the Premier League as well. The reality is, I think, it looks as though we have seen a pretty good performance for Ipswich, which is nice to see for them. But obviously, you would expect Sunderland, by the looks of things, did have the fair share of everything. But it might have just been one of those ones where basically, you do the damage and they can't, despite all of the possession, all of the statistics. At the end of the day, the only statistic that matters is the score. Everton Crystal Palace, like I said, I expected this one. Really, Everton and Crystal Palace, I would have thought that really this one was a pretty obvious one to me, that it was going to be an Everton win. Crystal Palace, I think, will struggle this season, losing more key players, losing Glasner, who I thought was a very, very good manager for them. As we can see, Everton looking like, even though they have received very little in the way of signings from what I've seen, I think they did pretty well here. Brentford and Spurs. This one I haven't mentioned, but this one was a fascinating one. I actually watched this game, and frankly, Spurs looked like they were all over the place. Despite the fact that they are about to sign basically an entire new first team, Marmoush and Savinho have been added since this game has been played. The reality is, this was an absolutely tragic result for Spurs. They looked very open. Brentford looked excellent, by the way. I said that Brentford wouldn't be very good this season because I felt like they would get penalised for their very set-piece focused approach and the physical play that they played with. We were supposed to be seeing rules coming in to basically mitigate a lot of the things that I think contributed to Brentford's success last season, along with Arsenal, by the way. And it looks as though they actually played really well from open play. I watched the game. Spurs were all over the place. They looked so leggy. They looked so incredibly just very out of sorts, to be honest. Really, really out of sorts. I thought Brentford were excellent. Created lots of chances from open play. Spurs looked like they had no idea. No patterns of play. The players looked like they didn't really know what they were doing. Despite the fact they brought Tonali in, he didn't really look like he was contributing any kind of quality to their midfield. They conceded a lot of fairly standard goals, to be honest, and looked like they could have conceded more. Didn't really carry that much of a threat going the other way. It's a classic case of buying 10 new players and losing the cohesion of your team. Liverpool did it last season when we bought like 5 or 6 really good players and we couldn't get the cohesion there. The balance of the team was lost. And obviously Spurs were really bad last season again. And they've bought tons of players to try and mitigate that. But so far, De Zerbi looking like he hasn't put it together. Man City, Bournemouth. Bournemouth looked very, very, very unlucky. Guardiola scoring a very late winner for them after being 1-0 up until the 84th minute, as you can see here. I thought the reality is for this one that, Man City are just cheeky devils, aren't they? They always end up getting wins like this somehow. And the Brighton one was a fascinating one as well. My dad's team, Villa, getting absolutely battered by Brighton. A similar thing to Spurs, potentially. Losing key players, replacing them with other ones. But when you bring in 5, 6, 7 new players, it takes a while to bed them in, to get them settled, to get the team cohesion back. And it looked like Villa lacked a bit of team cohesion by the looks of things. And also a red card for, was it João Gomez? The reality is Liverpool... Villa, I should say, sorry, looked a little bit, they got absolutely done in the first half here. Clearly lacking cohesion, lacking that kind of whatever was going on. It looks like it was an absolute abomination for them, to be honest. And like I said, Newcastle, Liverpool, this one was a pretty even game. I thought Newcastle played really well, actually, but I thought Liverpool played excellently. And we probably could have scored a few more goals. Everyone will say, oh, you know, we hung on and then we got a last-minute winner that we didn't deserve from penalty. But I think the story of the game was actually a lot different to this. And for me, Liverpool had the absolute lion's share of the chances, really. Newcastle scored 2 breakaway goals, but Liverpool created a lot of chances, looked very good. And I think if that was the baseline for Liverpool for next season, I think Liverpool will, for this season, I should say, I think Liverpool in reality will be doing pretty well. That is the footy recap. Let me know what you think down below. I'm very fascinated to know what you think. How do you think Chelsea will do tonight as well? They're a bit of an unknown quantity, but with Xabi Alonso, they could do well. Like and subscribe and comment, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care.